It's October 1985, and the house is too quiet. The furnace clicks off, leaving a hollow stillness. You can hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen, a low mechanical drone under everything. The living room carpet is rough under your arms, flattened orange shag that smells like dust and old socks. The Zenith TV is on Channel 3, but nothing's playing, just a gray, unstable smear, a faint hiss of static. You can feel the warmth radiating from the back of the set when you crawl closer. It smells like heated plastic and settled dust, like something has been working too hard for too long. Light pushes through yellowed polyester curtains, turning the floating dust into slow, drifting galaxies. A box fan sits dead in the corner, unplugged. The air is stale. Not dirty, not clean, just used. On the coffee table, a Sears Fall-Winter 1985 catalog, edges already curling. You flip pages with dry fingers. VHS players for $299.99, a Panasonic boombox, kids in staged denim, frozen mid-laugh. All this color, all this staged happiness, printed promises you can't touch. The only sound that moves is the clock, a cheap plastic wall clock with a second hand that doesn't sweep, it hops. Tick, each one a tiny hammer inside your skull. The beige rotary phone on the end table is perfectly still. No ring, no dial tone. You're not even allowed to call anyone, just to talk. Long distance costs too much. You lie on the carpet, cheek pressed into the fibers, and stare sideways at nothing in particular. No notifications, no scrolling, just a long, unbroken stretch of afternoon. The boredom isn't a moment. It's the room, it's the air, it's the water you're swimming in before you even know what water is.
The strangeness of that quiet didn't come from nowhere. It was engineered, slowly, accidentally, across the late 70s and early 80s. 1980, Sony releases the Walkman TPS L2 in Japan, about $150 in the US. You can finally carry music with you, but almost no one has one yet. Headphones in public still look vaguely suspicious, selfish. Most sound is still shared, ambient, in the room. August 1st, 1981. MTV signs on at 12:01 a.m. with "Video Killed the Radio Star." But by 1985, only around 43% of U.S. homes even have cable. The rest are stuck with 4, maybe 5 broadcast channels. If your station decides to air a tractor auction or a local telethon, that's your entire universe. 1983, the Commodore 64 arrives. 64 kilobytes of RAM for $595. It can change your life, but only if your parents can afford it, and only if you have the patience to watch a game load from a dataset for 6 eternal minutes. Entertainment is scheduled, rationed. Saturday morning cartoons exist in a 4-hour window and then vanish. Prime time is 8 to 11 p.m., and if you miss Knight Rider on NBC at 9, that's it. No replay, no DVR, just absence. Communication is rationed too. Mid-80s AT&T long distance can run 30 to 40 cents a minute. You don't waste that on "I'm bored." You write letters instead, and they crawl through the postal system for days, sometimes a week. Friendship moves at the speed of ink and sorting machines. 1985. Newspaper headlines begin talking about latchkey kids. Estimates run into the millions. Both parents at work, house key on a shoelace, empty home at 3:30 p.m. The silence isn't just technological. It's architectural, economic, political. This was the media ecology of the 80s. Sparse channels, expensive connection, slow machines. A whole civilization running just a little too slowly to fill the day.
Boredom isn't emptiness. It's a mismatch between how much stimulation your brain expects and how much the world is willing to give. By the early 80s, that mismatch was everywhere. Advertising had already trained people to want more. Brighter toys, bigger movies, endless entertainment. But the infrastructure was still analog, slow, stingy. You wanted now. The world answered, wait until 8 p.m. Psychologically, that delay does something specific. When you are understimulated but not in danger, the brain doesn't shut off, it turns inward. Neuroscientists decades later would map this as the default mode network, regions that light up when you're not focused on an external task. In that idle state, the mind loops through memories, rehearses conversations, imagines futures, builds little private simulations. 80s life created miles of that idle state. Bus rides with no phone, lines at the DMV, even just waiting for a show to come back from a 5-minute commercial block. Children especially adapted. Left alone in their rooms, they learned to colonize dead time. They narrated battles with plastic action figures. They turned backyards into planets. They copied logos in the margins of notebooks, designed fantasy bands, storyboarded movies they'd never see. Repeated enough, that adaptation becomes a trait. The brain gets good at flipping from empty to imagined, from nothing to do to I'll make something happen in my head. There's research that hints at this. Experiments in the 2010s found that people asked to do boring tasks came up with more creative ideas afterward than those who skipped the boredom. The lull acts like a pressure cooker. Thoughts have room to swell, combine, mutate. In the 80s, those phone book moments weren't rare, they were structural. Adults accepted them as normal. Kids had no vote, they just lived inside the gaps. So the era shaped a particular human behavior. When the world refused to fill the silence, you learned to become the entertainment. Not because it was enlightened or healthy, because the alternative was staring at the wall and feeling the clock carve your life into seconds. The quiet had teeth. For a lot of 80s kids, that long afternoon silence wasn't peaceful. It was abandonment wrapped in routine. Both parents worked because they had to. Stagnant wages, rising costs, the mythology of having it all. The Latchkey kid unlocks the door, steps into a house that smells faintly of old coffee and pine saw, and understands that their feelings need to wait until 6 p.m. when someone finally comes home tired. Psychologically, that's training. You learn early that discomfort has no audience, so you push it down. You switch on the TV instead. Television, Nintendo, comic books, these became emotional anesthetics, not simply entertainment, but tools for managing solitude and unprocessed fear. You feel restless, anxious, maybe angry. You don't have language for it. You have He-Man at 4:30. At the same time, there's the Cold War hum in the background. Nuclear drills at school. Images from the day after sneaking into your dreams. Adults rarely talk about it directly. The threat of total annihilation hovers, unspoken, like a gas leak. So you get a strange double bind. Outwardly, life looks stable. Cul-de-sacs, minivans, mall food courts. Inwardly, there's a constant, low-frequency dread. Silence becomes a shield. Don't ask, don't tell, don't feel too loudly. The human brain protects itself. If you can't change your conditions and you can't express your distress, you adapt by detaching. You become good at zoning out. You build inner worlds not just for creativity, but for escape. The hidden cost is subtle. That same ability to sit alone for hours can curdle into emotional distance. You learn to solve everything internally, so reaching out feels like weakness. You tolerate bad situations because endurance is what you were praised for. The superpower of turning nothing into something had a shadow form, turning pain into silence, turning need into self-containment. A generation taught to be endlessly self-entertaining and quietly, endlessly self-denying.
Put that 1985 living room next to a 2024 bedroom, and it feels like a different species of time. The furnace hum is gone, replaced by a faint, constant buzz of electronics. An iPhone 15 on the nightstand, screen waking every few seconds with new alerts. Discord pings, Snapchat streaks, TikTok audio leaking from tinny phone speakers, half a joke, half a song, chopped mid-sentence by the next swipe. The boredom that used to flood an afternoon has been chopped into microscopic pieces and sold off. No one waits for 8 p.m. anymore. Netflix and Disney Plus sit on the home screen, 30,000 hours of content, one thumb away. You don't stare at the wall, you stare at the For You page, and it stares back, adjusting itself with every pause, every replay. In the 80s, the environment enforced gaps. The TV stopped, the show ended, the store closed at 9. You hit a dead zone and your mind had to stretch to fill it. In 2024, the environment enforces continuity. Autoplay, endless scroll, next episode starting in 5, 4, 3. The instant a gap appears, an algorithm rushes in to patch it with something sticky, loud, personalized. Psychologically, that means fewer chances to practice being alone with yourself. Less time for the default mode network to wander, to build its slow, weird architectures of memory and fantasy. The inner world shrinks to accommodate the feed. And there is a loss here that's hard to name. Not just nostalgia for VHS static or mall food courts. A loss of mental, wide-open spaces. A kind of cognitive prairie that used to exist between appointments, between shows, between people. The 80s taught you how to survive when nothing was happening. 2024 teaches you that nothing must never happen. The quiet that once felt oppressive now looks, from this side of history, like a resource we casually burn through without understanding what it was worth. Boredom in the 80s wasn't a glitch, it was the operating system. Those long, airless afternoons forced a confrontation. When the shows ended, when the phone stayed silent, when no one was coming home for hours, you met the only thing left in the room, your own mind. Sometimes it made you inventive. Sometimes it made you resilient. Sometimes it just made you numb. But it did something. It carved out an interior landscape, even if that landscape was scarred and half-lit. There were stretches of time nothing else laid claim to. You could fill them with daydreams, with music replayed in your head, with half-finished drawings and secret fears. In 2024, time is harder to keep. Every spare second has a buyer. Every silence flickers with potential content. That old analog quiet, heavy, flawed, sometimes cruel, now looks like a territory we accidentally abandoned. Not paradise, just space. Space to hear yourself think long enough to decide whether the thoughts are really yours. You can't resurrect 1985, but you can recreate its most unsettling gift, an hour with nothing scheduled, nothing playing, no algorithm tugging on your sleeve. The silence was never the absence of life. It was the place where your life, for a moment, belonged only to you.